So I'm going to call to order the June 19th, 2018 meeting of the White Bear Lake Conservation District Board. And we have a quorum. So we can move on to item 3, approval of agenda. And does anybody have any additions and deletions? And I'll just get us started. Under Executive Committee, I'd like to add an item for H2O for Life. Okay. And any other items?
Yeah, under Education Committee, I'm going to spend several minutes talking about the new website. Say, new website review.
Okay. Any other? Okay. So I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
So we have motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. So approval of the prior board meeting minutes from the May 15th meeting. Does anybody have any corrections to those minutes?
I move we accept those minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, to accept or to approve the May 15th meeting minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. So we have a public comment time that we allow for people to talk about items that are not on our agenda. Is there anybody, I don't see anybody in the audience that's not on the agenda, so we'll move on. There is no new business, and there's no unfinished business. So we're to reports, and the first one is the Executive Committee, and I'll take that. The Executive Committee didn't meet, but we have with us tonight some representatives from H2O for Life, and we discussed this item at the end of our meeting last in May, and invited some folks to come in and talk to us about the program they have going on. So if you two would, or Howard, sure.
Hi, thank you.
If you could just, and we know you're with H2O for Life, but if you could just state your name and tell us who you're with, that'd be great.
Sure. My name is Judy Onifer. I'm the Education Project Manager at H2O for Life, and I'm the overseer of the Race to Reduce Curriculum Development Project that is now in its 3rd year. So what I'm here to talk to you about is the Race to Reduce project, and we are hoping for support from the Conservation District. Race to Reduce has now been a curriculum development project that has completed 3 years of incredibly vital curriculum here in White Bear Lake. In our very early years, we began as an after-school, interesting enrichment program, and then the school district began to see the value of it. So back in 2015, 2016, legislative money was provided through the incredible support of Chuck Uyghur and Peter Fisher, and we received legislative funding to begin a truly formal curriculum development project that was unique, that there is really no parallel to. There are so many water resource education products out there and resources out there that are add-ons that teachers can kind of grab onto, and they're doing a science unit and they can do a couple of these really fun, interesting activities. Race to Reduce is completely different, and it now has won 2 awards, both a state award and now a national award that will be announced July 1st. It is a curriculum that is embedded in the school district's program K through 5. In the 3 years that we have been supported by the Minnesota State Legislature, we have now impacted 3,000 kids here in White Bear Lake with this very unique program. So what's unique about it? The deal is that everyone in education is very concerned about standards. And it's about finding ways to be able to meet both the core content standards and also the Minnesota state standards. And teachers don't want something that's going to pile on top that's going to be another extra. So what we've done is we've found ways to have teachers, students, schools, classrooms meet the standards, but using the theme of water resource education. And so 2016, we were awarded the Environmental Initiative Award here in Minnesota for this unique program. And this year, we have been honored with the Districts of Distinction Award by Administration Districts Magazine, which is a national resource for education administrations across the country. We're incredibly proud of that. So why are we here? Because we've got all this great stuff going on. Well, the problem is that politics being what they are, this year, much to the disappointment of Carla Nelson and Chuck Uygur and Peter Fisher, our program made it through the EF-12 committee in the legislature, in the Senate, but didn't make it through the House bill because this year was an interim year for budget, and also there were a lot of pressing things going on, school security, and a lot of very pressing issues that were important to a lot of folks. Our budget last year was $143,000. I know that sounds huge, but we had more than a dozen educators that were being paid to be able to work on developing this curriculum outside of their school day. Plus we had staff here at H2O for Life. What we're looking for is some interim money to be able to help this program get through our gap year. Because Carla Nelson, the chairman of the EF-12 committee, has committed to support us in the next legislative session. We wouldn't be able to see that money until July 1 of 2019. So in our interim year, we're not looking for $143,000. We're looking for a few supporters that are going to help us get through the implementation year of what was written this past year. K through 5 is totally accepted, embedded, and now part of the White Bear Lake School elementary program across the board in all elementary schools. This year we wrote the grade 6 program. It's ready to go. And we're just looking for $28,000 to support it through its implementation and piloting phase. We've got stakeholders and other supporters that are helping to chip in. And what we're looking for from the White Bear Lake Conservation District is a support of $10,000 to help us get through this piece of it. So that's where we're at. In your folders are just a few pieces of information about some of the outcomes of this incredible program. You'll see Aquafair 2018. This is the second year that we engaged all students in White Bear Lake to come together and talk to the community about what they've learned about water resource education. And it was incredibly well attended. We had a great year. We doubled our attendance. Second item that you'll see on the left-hand side is the Splash Toolkit, which is another outcome of this project. And this takes our water resource education out of the classroom and into the after-school realm. So we created a 12-lesson guide that we've now worked with Community Ed, all of our Community Ed folks here in White Bear Lake that do the before school, after school, summer camp, spring break programs are all now using the Splash Toolkit. That's another outcome of this very successful project. We also run the statewide water resource poster contest, and more than 60% of our entries are all from White Bear Lake schools. And we've had kids win monetary awards, as well as some of the schools here in White Bear Lake win water bottle filling stations that get installed in the schools at no cost to the taxpayers. So it's a great program, and we are hoping that you'll help us get through this gap year so that we can finish our project. Our goal is to finish grades 7 and 8 and a pre-K unit, so we have a completely contiguous, articulated program in water resource education, pre-K all the way through grade 8. So thank you for your time, and I'll take any questions you might have.
Judy, I'll just get us going if that's
Go ahead,
okay,
you
Jeff.
go first.
So, first off, thanks for being here.
Sure.
And thanks for making your the presentation. Appreciate getting that information. What I understand is that You're looking for some money to help you implement something that's already been created. So it's just sitting, waiting to be implemented. And how many kids do you think you'll touch through the implementation?
We have a sixth grade student in this entire White Bear Lake district.
Got it.
So I don't know the actual numbers. I'm guessing it's probably about 1,600.
Okay.
Because I think average is about 800 students per grade.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay. Jeff?
Give me the cliff notes. What are you teaching? What does water resources, what are we trying to teach a K through fifth grader about
Good
water
question.
resources?
What we're trying to do is have students gain knowledge about the importance of water resources to every aspect of our lives. So in kindergarten, kids begin to learn about how important water is to their own personal lives. And what they then do as part of their program is learn how to teach others about that importance. So in kindergarten, one of the things that the kids are doing is learning that conserving water helps all of us keep the White Bear Lake water levels up. And that's where this project really began. That's why it's called Race to Reduce. Remember, several years ago.
Well, the only water they come in contact with is water that goes back into the sewage system. It isn't as though,
But it doesn't have to be that way.
Oh.
It does not have to be that way.
Okay.
Kids can learn otherwise. And so what we have kindergartners learning is that water is important to all living things, including human beings. And then as part of their assessment, part of how they demonstrate what they learn, is these kids are just, they're actually, kindergartners are making public service announcements, which are just blow me away. They create puppet shows that teach other people that water needs to be conserved. And they do these Chatterpix things using technology. So what White Bear Lake is, okay, well, the standard is that kids have to learn how to use technology. That's fine. And we can do it in the context of kids doing kind of funny, silly games. Or we can do it in the context of kids learning that their lake, right here in White Bear Lake, is important. Yeah, plain and simple. As they move up through the grades, kids in third grade are collecting data at home about how much water they're using on average, going through the water resource curriculum, learning how important it is to conserve, and then redoing their water assessments at home after they've changed those behaviors of themselves and their family. And we've got an actual outside data collection agency, Improve Group, that has the proven data that those families are changing their behaviors because of what their kids are doing in school. Let's move up to fifth grade. Those kids are learning about the importance of the shared resources here in Minnesota, and part of what they're doing is learning how to write an advocacy letter to engage in the civic dialogue. So these are incredible skills. So it's not just, it's about the water, but these kids are gaining skills that, that I think is why the Districts of Distinction Award was given to us. Because the kids are learning to be civically engaged, they're learning to be change makers, they're learning that their water resources are important, they're learning how to be a part of their communities. And here in Minnesota, water is us. So that's a little sampling. All of it is available on racetoreduce.org, and you can go onto the website. All of that, the website is listed in the materials you have here. You can click on any of the grade level programming in the educational resource tab, and you can look at the entire curriculum. One of the things that we were questioned about at the state, when we did state testimony, was this is just an enrichment, and the State Commissioner of Education said, no, you need to look, it's not. And so we brought this programming to the attention of Carla Nelson, the chair of the committee, who also happened to be in a prior experience in her life, a special education teacher. And she's the one who personally wrote us letters and said, this is just so different. This is really amazing. So, does that answer your question? Did I help?
well, sort of, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not seeing where it intersects with our mission here, but, you know, be that as it may.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions? Mike?
You said everybody in the school district, or every child in the school district, K through 5, does that include the non-public schools?
We are working with Catholic schools. Part of our funding for Race to Reduce outside of the legislative funding has provided us the opportunity to intersect with Catholic schools. Patty, maybe you can talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, we are working with the Catholic schools in the area. We've got programs at Versati. One of the programs that we're also doing this year is a water monitoring kit, which might be more of what you're thinking of as conservation ideas, which is a global program where we're providing kits to schools, and we provide one at Versati and at St. John's and at Matamidi and at White Bear schools, where kids go down to White Bear Lake, they take a sample of water and they do 4 tests that give them a snapshot of their water, and studies are showing if you get kids engaged with their water resources, they're more likely to protect and conserve those resources. So there's a whole lot of really robust activities that kids can engage in. And we also had some support last year from the White Bear Foundation that helped brand this toolkit, so it was distributed to every school in Matamidi, White Bear, and the Catholic schools, Level Up Academy, and AFSA as well. So all of those schools received copies of the toolkit.
And
We're
you,
also working very closely with all the watershed partners in utilizing their watershed education resources. I've recently had some great conversations with some of the folks in the watersheds, trying to figure out how we can integrate invasive species awareness and protection as part of the Race to Reduce programming. So even though Race to Reduce began as a water conservation project that was really focused on lake levels and protecting the aquifer, it's expanded into a much broader definition and an active programming development in all of water resource protection in all of its aspects.
and you said this was a gap year or an interim year, so this is a one-time request?
That is correct, yeah. We have no guarantee that we're going to make it through that, the 2019-2020 fiscal year. But we've got great support in the Senate. Even if we were not to get it, at least the support we'll get this year will allow us to complete the 6th grade piloting and implementation. And the piloting is, we got the curriculum written, but now we've got to get it into a couple of classrooms. We've got to get kids engaged and teachers on board to be able to give it a try, help us retool it, help us refine it, and then help us package it so that it can be pushed out to every 6th grade teacher in the district. So that's where we're at. Yeah?
Yeah, I think, just to follow up on that, in terms of the gap year, I mean, it does, to keep it going will require legislative money, and you're pretty sure. The reason I'm getting at is so if we give you this $10,000, if we don't put $10,000 in our budget for next year, we probably can't do 2 years in a row.
Yeah, and if we can just complete 6th grade and it ends up being a K through 6 program, we've done an incredible job. If we can really kind of finish to our dream goal, we like to be pre-K through 12. Right now, we're shooting for pre-K through 8, which is what we pitched to the legislature.
Okay.
But really, everything that we've done up until now is a total, complete, standalone, requires no funding program. White Bear Lake has adopted it. They've taken over any additional funds, which are minimal, to keep it in the school district K through 5. This year, we invested a lot of professional time to develop the 6th grade unit, and so in order for that to now be completely embedded, we need to have a little bit of funding to just get through the pilot and implementation. So at the end of this year, that investment will have then paid off because that piece will now extend it an additional year in the White Bear Lake School District. White Bear Lake schools are already at the board level completely invested in this program. It has been adopted and accepted as a part of the programming that they're willing to support from the board level, administration, principals, and teachers.
And how much did we contribute? Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, Paul Steinhauser came and spoke to you, and that was, actually, it was 3 years ago. It was before we even started the Race to Reduce program, and he requested funds to do a toilet study, if you recall that, in White Bear Lake. And he engaged high school students to do a research study on putting low-flow toilets into some households to see what the difference was in the water through that. And we found out some pretty interesting things for that. One, that low-flow toilets work, but also they found out how many houses were not really being metered for their water when they started doing these studies throughout the neighborhood. So it's kind of an eye-opening study. And I think you were provided with a follow-up
Yeah, how much
study
was,
on
And Patty, do you remember how much we,
I thought Paul asked for 10,000, but I am not certain of that, because we were more the fiscal agent that put it in his
I
hands.
think it was 3. I think I looked it up for you. I think it was 3
it wasn't 10,000. I thought it
okay.
was like 65 or something.
Okay,
or 5 or
I
something.
could look that up if you would need that number,
Yeah.
sure.
okay, any other questions?
I just,
Is it possible for us to get a copy of your curriculum to look at it? See
The
what you
curriculum is significant and vast. So what I would suggest you do is go to the racetoreduce.org website, and you can view it there. Every curriculum unit for each grade level is probably a document that ranges from 20 to 60 pages for each grade level. And it's in the Understanding by Design format, which is in educationally accepted curriculum development format that's used by districts throughout Minnesota and actually throughout the nation. So it kind of builds from essential questions to learning outcomes, core content standards, and then builds the lessons. The entire program is not meant to be printed out. It is something that is available on an electronic platform on the web. White Bear Lake right now has it in their Schoolology and is also building it into a dedicated Google website for teachers here in White Bear Lake. So it is an interactive program that is meant to be brought up on a smart board or on some other electronic media. And so students have interactives that are part of the program. Teachers have slide decks that then guide them through the lessons. And then there are links to outside sources from standard textbook manufacturers and FOSS is another one, and EIS. And there are a lot of things that are already a part of the White Bear Lake School District programming that are then linked within the website. So it's not something that's meant to be printed.
I see. Do they have any field trips or anything that they go to? I don't know. I mean, it seems like it might be useful to
It'd be incredible.
go down to
Yeah.
the science museum or go to a water treatment plant or.
Yeah, that's,
something, I don't know.
that's outside of the realm of this funding,
Uh-huh.
but it's something that White Bear Lake certainly supports. I know we've worked very closely with Otter Lake Elementary School, and I know in conjunction with this, they do a lot of field trips right across the street to Tamarack Nature Center. So, yeah, wouldn't it be great to find another sponsoring funder to be able to kind of keep that piece of it as an enrichment segment to this program going, sure. But it's outside of this curriculum. This is a formal curriculum. Although I have to say that there are a number of elementary schools that, as part of the Race to Reduce and H2O for Life experience, get out there and do walks for water. Ben Butters at Matoska. I went with those kids down to White Bear Lake, and we walked over a mile. And the kids were talking about all of what they had learned about protecting White Bear Lake's resources and being conservationists as they, begin to think about their futures. So that was pretty cool. Field trips don't always have to go on a bus, right? Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Diane?
Is Matamita using this curriculum?
Matamidi is. They were more of an active participant early in this project a couple of years ago. This year, they were not as active in any kind of collaborative way, although they still use the curriculum products that were developed in the grade 3 and grade 4. And I understand they have a new superintendent, and I'm still in touch with Lynn Beaker. And as they kind of get themselves settled and decide what direction they want to go with environmental education, they are certainly open to jumping back in should we land that legislative funding.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, thank you for coming and sharing this with us.
Thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, so any discussion amongst the board?
Yeah, I think this would certainly be an appropriate use from our educational point of view. We are a conservation district, and this is water conservation is a key element in a lot of the issues that we're working with the lake now, in terms of lake level especially. So I think it is something that we should support to the extent that we can. And the reason I asked, is it a one-time thing? Because we're discussing budget now, and if it's going to be a repeat thing, that amount we would have to budget. I think 1 year, we could make a one-time donation. We've already exceeded what's in our budget for education. But I think in this case, we do have enough reserves to do 10,000 once.
Okay, anybody else? Alan?
I don't normally get to chime in on these things, but I decided to take advantage of the machine that I have and went to the website. And just in case you don't think that they're, well, two observations. One is third graders are a lot smarter than they were when I was in third grade. So one of this things is called the Grade 3 Authentic Assessment, and I'm just reading right off of their curriculum. And in the presentation regarding water information, identify 3 facts about the fixed amount of water in our world. Second, presentation identifies a problem with the water level of White Bear Lake in our community. Third, suggest 3 strategies to conserve water at home in order to increase the water level of White Bear Lake. And finally, write 2 to 4 sentence conclusion explaining the information. So I would say that you're about spot on, Scott. So if you want to inculcate that conservation mindedness in the kids here, looks like they're doing it.
Yeah, and they'll bring it home too. You kind of wonder how many third graders are going to be questioning how long the showers their parents are taking. So it's not just like abstract, I think.
Sure. Okay, anybody else?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay,
Or do you want to make it?
no, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to fund this program out of our education budget for $10,000.
Second?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to fund up to $10,000 from the education budget. And is that money available? I'm sorry. did I
No.
miss- Okay, so,
We'd have to deficit spend.
okay, so there's no, okay, so we have the motion and the second, so we have some discussion, and the money would actually be deficit spent out of our reserve fund. Okay, any discussion?
What are our balances right now? Could we go over those again? What were, just in a brief synopsis?
Balance. is that
General.
too
Like
much?
fund balance, yeah.
Oh, let me get to that. So, if you look at the treasurer's report, under June 2019, our total assets are shown as, can you find that
Yeah,
sheet?
here, just a second. So this is the document we're starting with? Okay, you guys, this is the document we're starting with?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're on this one right here, a few pages down. And this was this was at your spot tonight? Yeah, there you go, just might have to dig for it just a little bit. Again, it's this one is the one we're starting with. Yeah, there you go. And about halfway through is this page.
Okay.
Okay, so Diane, I'm sorry, could you go ahead?
Oh, that's okay. So on that sheet, you can see what our total assets are as of June, and you can see what our budget is for that year, so,
This is gonna be the biggest item on our expense list.
no, not after
Maybe I'm not looking at the
milfoil.
right list here. I see administrative is 88,000.
We haven't
Licensing.
paid the treatment for milfoil yet, that's why.
Right.
Oh, sure, so,
Wait till I tell you how much the weeds
are gonna be. And we have sheriff, and, I
That's
mean,
right.
so there's a number of
Yeah, okay,
things
I'm
that
sorry.
have to come out of our budget for the rest of the year.
okay, any other discussion? All right, well, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I'm gonna abstain on this one.
Okay, so we have 6 ayes, 1 abstention, and so it passes. Okay, so then we just have to figure out how to get the money.
I need it. I would, if you could send the district an invoice, and,
Thank you, we will do that, thank you very much. We
Thank you
appreciate it.
so much.
you're welcome.
Well, thanks for coming out.
You do great work for that justice.
Then it would be approved to issue the
Thank
check
you.
1 month from now, right?
Yes.
Oh, so Patty and Judy, so if you issue the invoice, then we would pay that at our July meeting.
Perfect.
And so then you would have funds in your hands probably shortly after that meeting.
Thank you so much, really appreciate your support.
Thank you. I
Right,
can't
thanks.
wait to let Sarah Paul and Wayne Kay, let them know too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's it for the executive committee. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that's the Lake Level Resolution Committee status. Barton.
Yes, it's my primary task has been to try and analyze the court case, and I've been down to the Ramsey County Courthouse to look at documents, and I've also had some contact with White Bear Lake City, and the attorney for the plaintiffs. So basically, I found out that I can't get the documents within any kind of a reasonable cost, and I'm still waiting on White Bear City to get me an evaluation of the documents that they had, which are a relatively small number of the total documents that I feel that I would like to have. The reason I'd like to have these documents, I think they're a good cross-section of the analysis of the lake level issue, and I would like to distribute copies to members of the Lake Level Resolution Committee. So I guess the issue here is that I was not able to get them from Cerisi. She indicated that they were, her time was too valuable and such, and therefore it would be, too costly for her to get those documents. And the White Bear Lake City only had a few of the documents I considered BI. And so $10 per document at the courthouse, and I would estimate 25 to 50 documents. So, you can do the math. I guess, that's like $250 to $500. So, anyway, that's sort of, somebody else might have another opinion or another way to get the documents. I know there is some information on the website. But anyway, it's a very complex case. There's over 300 documents that were filed in the case. Not all of them are what I consider to be informational. Some are legal in nature only, but I consider that to be a valid starting point to kind of get information to the people on the committee. I would be open for comment as to whether people think that's necessary or not, but I certainly feel it's necessary.
Yeah. Have you figured out what you're gonna do with this once you get it? Are you gonna report back to us? Is that your goal? Or?
Yeah, I guess the idea is to, I suppose, come up with maybe a consensus about, there's the idea of whether or not the water use in the area was the cause of the lake level going down. And there's also the issue of, would we ever consider implementing surface water into municipalities in the future as a possibility to alleviate the water usage issue? So those are kind of the two. And I guess basically to have a report, I know it's contentious, obviously, and but it seemed like it was a very urgent matter in 2013. Doesn't seem very urgent right now because we've had above average rainfall in the last few years. So, we're just maybe not seeing the real problem right now. But I don't know if anyone has any more ideas. I know that there's the idea that maybe we could figure out what kind of conservation measures. I know that, if we could analyze all the businesses within a certain range, that's a pretty complex problem to figure out if there's something that could be done to, I know with the private individual citizens within the area that, I guess they're giving reductions on washing machines or toilets or that are water conserving. So I know that issue's been somewhat considered already, but I felt that the case was pretty informational. That there was a lot of good information there that I was reading, and it's not that I can't remember it all without having it in front of me for a period of time. So that's my feeling, right? I don't have anything spectacular really to say except that, people haven't been forthcoming about helping me to get these documents. It seems like I should be able to get a hold of any document that I need. But White Bear Lake City, I don't know why they don't have all of the documents. They didn't present me with all the documents.
I'm just wondering, this is actively being litigated. It's in appeals now. I'm just wondering how we as a board would insert ourselves into the process. Would we make some recommendations and just make them public? If we have something unique to say that nobody else has said, I just sort of grasping at what we do with this.
Tell you what, that lawsuit is one tar baby I don't feel like wrestling with. I'd like to keep as much distance as possible.
Sure. Alan, do you have you're an attorney that followed the cases. As it turns out, that's you.
Thank you for noting that.
Any input on this?
Sure. You always do run the risk of having the chambers that you're sitting in be a little annoyed that you guys are going there. Obviously, for a completely different reason, you litigated with the DNR, and even that effort, although I think was a good one, was misconstrued as somehow going against the city. So I think anytime you go there, you're going to run that risk. Barton, if you want to see what happened, I recommend reading the well thought out and rather complete decision of the judge. It is still in litigation, and so the city, of course, still has not only its own counsel, but private counsel engaged. And, if I was litigating it, I wouldn't give you all of that stuff either. So anything that's filed publicly, you can go and obtain, obviously, and read. But I'm not sure if the takeaway is going to be much more important than just what the judge actually ordered and what she found compelling. You know, obviously it was most of the plaintiff's case, but that's 150 pages of reading right there. And that's something you can go down and just get. So if you haven't already gotten that. I don't know if it's really worth rehashing at the board level to try and make recommendations, especially if you're going to zoom way back out and start talking about conservation measures and things that I think other entities are working on. As far as augmentation goes, I was going to save this until my efforts a little later on in the meeting, but the law did get passed that basically has put the enforcement of the order on hold. So that was done at the legislative level. So that has to do with permitting, obviously, and enforcing watering regulations, things of that nature. So there's a whole year to figure out any appeals and whatnot that are in this litigation anyway. So is it worth you guys spending time as a committee looking at, I guess, re-looking at a case that's not even finished yet? I don't know. But I can certainly help you get whatever documents I can get out of the parties. Certainly I know people on both sides of that. But again, I don't know what you would ever be able to take away from just what the judge had found. You know, she was the one who listened to all of the testimony from all of the experts, and I'm sure that somewhere in our document file you can see the USGS study that really looked at where the water's going. So if you haven't looked at that either, that's probably worth taking a peek at too, because that really formed the basis of why they were able to go into court.
Right. Well, I know that Brian gave me the resolution, and it indicates that, you know, we can examine various alternatives for restoring White Bear Lake. Now, it is essentially restored, so we don't know whether, I mean, there's still a lot of question about, you know, was it real or wasn't it? Was it, you know, did the lake go down? Because nonetheless, I feel that it might be that, you know, these are experts, and of course, we can't always say we can analyze everything, but I think the case and its substance has been primarily hidden from the public. And in this instance, I would certainly like to have all these documents that are, you know, informational in nature brought to light so that, you know, some people could have these. I mean, it's not extremely difficult. Some of it's somewhat technical, but I feel it's important. And I personally have not looked at it enough to, I mean, there's two different sides. You got the DNR saying, you know, the wells were still, we had enough wells that suggested that the lake, the level was not down. And, you know, maybe that the climactic conditions had not varied significantly, or, and that the pumping had not increased drastically or had not increased. So there's some contentious kind of issues anyway. And I think knowing that we would require a significant effort for something to come out of this committee, but apparently we were designated to do this, to figure out why and what alternatives there might be. And I think information at this point in time, because it's not likely that there's going to be much motivation to do anything when the lake is not down. So it's an informational exercise, and maybe to get something to come out of this lake level resolution, say, well, we voted, or we decided on a statement or something that could come into the main conservation district. You know, I'm interested in the subject, and I hope the other members of the committee would be also interested in the details. I mean, you can say it's good to conserve water, but you know, and I guess that's been the focus previously, but anyway.
Barton, excuse me, have you had the committee meet, and how does the committee feel about this endeavor, looking into the lawsuit?
Yeah, we haven't met, so, you know, I mean, I can certainly do that and ask them. I'm not, you know, I know that there are people that aren't interested, and, you know, everyone would have their opinion, but I guess I'm sort of in charge, right? Or semi in charge, and
Totally.
that, so if I wanted to try and get these documents, in spite of what, if people said, no, we're not interested, then we couldn't just shut down the committee. It might not fly. But I don't know. Are there any recommendations? Basically, I'm very interested in getting these documents. I know I'm going to get a few of them, but apparently I might need a budget to get everything out of the court if we can't get things from the parties. So,
Well, you're probably going to have a lot of reading to do just from what Alan can get you.
yeah, and but I agree that the judge is summarizing in, it seems pretty redundant to me, right?
Yeah.
When I started reading it, that it's not the kind of information that, you know, I mean, yeah, I guess that's it. But you know, we have basically the right to get informed and not have others make. I mean, the whole thing is, of course, that I would like to be as informed as possible about this issue, because I think for the future it's important to know. And so that's my opinion. Is I really want to get these documents, and that would be my goal right now. And you know, I haven't tried every means. I haven't tried the DNR to see if they'd be amenable. So they're another possibility that they might have all the documents and might, you know, give them to me for a reasonable cost. So that's it. But I don't want to say it doesn't matter, and that's all. I really it's a huge issue in terms of knowledge and understanding the possible outcomes or the interactions that would be necessary, say with the Met Council or you know, getting funding for surface water. But there has been a proposal, as I've read, an evaluation in 2016 about tapping into the St. Paul water system and how much it would cost, et cetera. And, you know, I think that's something that our committee should know about. I don't know if it's ever been discussed, but obviously it may be an issue for the future.
Yeah, I can think of a couple things that could come out of this. One is just in terms of our ability to explain. And to be able to explain first requires some understanding. But I still get questions, you know, people who aren't really following the news, they'll say, so what's causing a lake to go down? I mean, somebody asked me that like last month. And I go, well, it's complicated. You know, we have the USGS models, we have the models that were brought up in the, you know, in the lawsuit that claimed that if there was a watering ban, that would save the lake 1 inch per year or something like that. So there's models out there, and I don't know if we're in a position to scientifically evaluate the models beyond what the judge has done. But the other, so I think in terms of being able to understand, to explain, may have some value. The other thing is that this board, we're kind of on the hook in a way, maybe not a way it's relevant as much as it used to be, but a few years ago, we did agree to act as a fiscal agent for, in case somebody dropped $50 million on us, to do the augmentation, and we have never revoked that or gone back on that. So it's still a commitment that we would act as a fiscal agent. So any information that we could get relevant to the obligation that we still have to act as a fiscal agent. You know, and honestly, I don't know what this whole lawsuit has anything to do with that. But, you know, that would be something to look at. But I do think you should go back to the committee and try to think about what what the committee wants to accomplish.
Okay, and I will just echo Scott's. I think it would be good to go to the committee and build some consensus as to what the committee would like to do, and then bring that forward in the form of a motion to the board. Anybody else have any other questions, comments for Barton on the Lake Level Resolution Committee? Okay, thank you, Barton. And now we're on to the Lake Quality Committee. Mike?
Lake quality, lake level, excuse me, lake level today, right now, as of a couple of hours ago after the rain stopped, is 923.68. 923.68. That's little short of 4 inches higher than last month, and it's 4.5 inches higher than last year. I was surprised. I thought, we're close to what it was last year, 4.5 inches difference. Prior to this last rain, it was really hot and dry and windy, and there was a lot of evaporation. But with the rain, it bounced right back up. So it's in good shape, 923.68.
Yeah, we did I measured I'm in the state climatological network where I measure. And I think I measured, well, as of yesterday, it was 4.80 inches. We got another 71/100ths of an inch last night. So we're well over 5.5 inches up on rain. Mm-hmm. The average for June in our area is about 4.25. So we caught up. Let's say we more than caught up to the averages.
Yep, that's good. So lake level is 923.68. The water temperature is 72 degrees, and that's the same as last year. On the survey for the milfoil, the survey was done June 4th, and we surveyed, obviously, the entire lake, and you have a very nice colorful map in front of you. And first off, all the dots, regardless of color, are places that we have found milfoil and treated over the years. And this year, the ones circled in red are the ones we're going to treat. We went, instead of having them 1 to 3 feet from the surface, we went down actually to 11 feet in some areas and 12 feet. Because the lake was still snow-covered this winter, there was not a lot of weed growth. And so we found all these areas with a sufficient milfoil to treat, 8 to 11 feet below the surface. That was on June 4th. We got our DNR permit, which is attached to this. Oh, we found 69.9 acres. We have our permit, which is attached to that copy, that map. We haven't had good weather to treat. The applicator, Lake Management, is ready to go, and it could be as early as tomorrow if we get good weather. They're thinking later in the day tomorrow that we might get sufficient weather, and then or Thursday. And if neither of the days work, if it's too windy where they can't follow their transects with the boat, or if it's rainy, or if it's really overcast and dark, they probably won't do it till next week, simply because when you do it on a Friday and a Saturday, there's a lot of lake use, and it disturbs the water columns that were the application is put. So it's either tomorrow in the afternoon, Thursday, or it'll be next week. And I sent that information to Kim, and
It's on the website.
you just can't pin it down.
Yeah.
You try.
Yeah, I
So-
did. I put it on the website, and I also let all the community
Okay.
cities around.
And then, of course, they put buoys out when they treat, before they treat,
Yeah.
so that, people can see the areas where they are. So, and I'm glad, we've got this map that in everyone's hand, so if anybody asks you, where's the treatment, and you can kind of explain it. It'll be as soon as we get a really nice day, this is where they're going to treat.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. According to the Weather Channel, it looks really good for tomorrow.
yeah, it does.
Partly cloudy.
It did today, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this is powered by Watson,
Yeah, because we've been watching since last Wednesday,
Yeah.
and we knew Monday wasn't good, and Tuesday was just going to be great, and they were just all ready to go, and look what happened. So I really hope that that's right for tomorrow.
Okay.
We want to get it done, because we're still way ahead of schedule. Normally, we treat around the 4th of July, or even after that.
I can't remember from your, it was 69 acres or
62 something last year.
62. So in terms of our budget cost or,
Oh, so cost, I want to talk about that. So on our bid, we had different agents to use, and the best agent that we've ever used was Triclopure at $576 an acre. If we did it all with that, it's $44,000. The applicator and both Steve McComas suggested that we try some different agents just to compare apples for apples on how it affects the areas. So we're going to single out some of these areas, and we're going to treat some with depth charge, which is highly recommended by the applicator, not so much by McComas, but it's got a lethal name, depth charge. That's
that's got a
very catchy,
blast.
very good, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to try some of that, approximately, not very much, 3 acres on that. And then we're going to use 2,4-D on a small area, also almost 4 acres on that. And then the rest will be Triclopure. And that brings the cost down to $39,796. So we had already approved a dollar amount up to $46,000, but that was more than we needed.
Okay.
Can you say the dollar amount again, 39?
Well, I don't want to be quoted to the penny, but $39,796.84.
And so
but it-
basically,
but it-
though, we're well
it may
within the
vary.
budget. Yeah, we're well within the budget anyway, so
Yes,
that we
we're
can
well within
adjust
what
if we
was
have to
approved,
in the
yeah.
field.
Yeah,
Got it.
But if the applicator says, I want to treat a little bit bigger site with 2,4-D and that other agent, the price will go down. That would be the only variable. So I always like to give the worst case. So,
Okay.
that's it, unless there's questions.
Any questions for Mike?
Anything?
Okay, thank you, Mike. So we're on to Lake Utilization Committee, and that's Mark Gans. Mark is out of town at the moment. Couldn't be here, so I'm going to cover for Mark. There are two items. The first one is the Allstat buoy for sailboat. This is the same as it's been in previous years. They've had no complaints. The committee voted to approve, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes. The next item is the Wildwood Association variance request. And this is for a dock at the Wildwood Beach Manor condominium. And this is a little different than it was last year. They slid it 10 feet in one direction. And the discussion at the committee was to approve this application with the idea that next year, if the water level continues to increase, that they may ask them to go back to their original or their non-variance dock layout. So in any case, the committee voted to approve this application, and I will make a motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Okay, just a question.
Yep.
In this kind of situation, do we go to the neighbors to ask them their opinion about their neighbor, about this group doing this?
And Kim, do you remember if there was any discussion, do you know if the LUC did that or not? I don't remember them discussing that specifically.
Luke said that it has been this way for the last, how it is now and last year, so, and no one has complained or said anything, so that he was approving it based on that, but I don't necessarily know if anybody was notified.
Yeah, so the variance is the same as last year, and it's this, putting the boats out here on this wing on the end. That was the variance.
Okay, and so they applied for a variance last year too? Is this,
That's
Yes.
my understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what Luke said, yeah.
And it was the same as this.
Okay, so is it really a variance then?
It's not a variance from last year, it's a variance from what our ordinance allows.
Ah, okay, okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, and that passes. And I'm sorry, there's one additional thing that came up in the LUC that I probably should have added to the agenda, but I'd like to discuss it anyway, and that's the Shadowgay development. Apparently, they put out a roped-off swim area, and they did this based on a permit provided by the sheriff, and that is in violation of what our ordinances allow. And so someone from the LUC will send a letter to the condo association to tell them, or ask them to take that roped-off swim area out. And that's it. Any questions that you would have for Mark if he were here? Okay, then we'll move on. Lake Education Committee, Scott?
Okay, I'm going to, we're going to demo our new website, and I'm going to send you home with homework.
When's it due?
Okay, hopefully, if we plug this in.
Right there.
And there we are. I don't know if that shows up on our video. This is our demo website. They've been working on it today and yesterday. They finally got some information back. They hired a subcontractor. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. They hired a subcontractor who's like a content writer and editor to give them some suggestions on organization. And the writer did talk to Kim, talk to me about some of the things. And I'm always interested in what people want to do with this website, what they call use case analysis. So we have something here for your feedback, and the company was asking me what I thought about it, and I said I'd share it with you. One thing you see, I'm just going to go through, starting at the top. They put on this news scroll, and I thought, well, that could be interesting. You'd have to have like actual, something different to say all the time, but that's what's scrolling across the top. It's sort of like what they have in the NPR building downtown St. Paul. So, well, that's good. And we don't need to spend hours discussing it right now, but I think if you could send an email to Kim and I, we can kind of combine some of this if you think that's a good idea or not. Then there is a menu. This is the home page. There's About Us. There's About the Lake. Seasonal fun. Resources, which is the news articles and Contact Us. And I'm going to go back to that later, but I just want to say here's the photo scroll. We got some donations of pictures here. This is a picture I took a couple weeks ago down by the marina. We could use more photos. I would like to have actually changed the photos up seasonally. So you'd have like some winter photos during the winter. Right now we have one winter picture here that I took 10 years ago of some ice fishing houses. And I think we could use some sharper pictures. Now, one thing is the city of White Bear Lake, they have panorama pictures. They don't scroll like this, but it's a different picture like every time you log in. or you view their website, and they got some really nice, they had a submission process, and they got some really nice semi-professional stuff. So we could consider that, or I wouldn't mind stealing stuff from the city, with their permission, of course. So this is the picture from this year's ice cleanup. All the volunteers. So that's the photo scroll. And then they really cleaned up. If you're familiar with the website, there's a lot of clutter before. It was pretty messy, and this is a lot cleaner. So one thing we'll be looking for, are these the things that we want highlighted here? This is our meeting minutes, which includes videos. If you like to watch yourself on video, which I think almost nobody does. I don't know what happened to it. Okay, so there's minutes and such.
We cleaned that up. There was years and years and years of those. And so we have just 1 year, the current year, and we put everything else under archive. So it's still there if somebody really wanted something
Yeah.
from way back, but it
Looked
doesn't
like
take up so much
I
space.
accidentally changed the size of the view here. See, I'm at 295. Let's go down, back down to 100. Okay, that's better. I don't know how I did that. Ugh. I don't like it jumping around on me. Okay, so yeah, we're back in minutes and agendas. And once again, the view slipped on me here. 120 shouldn't be that bad. Okay. So anyway, you can, so my homework assignment is to look at those, look at these topics. Okay, and you can find this website. Normally, we're at wblcd.org. This demo site is at wblcd.us. So if you type that, you get to see this, and you can explore it and give comments on what you see there. It's a lot sharper. And what I'd also like to challenge you to do is go to this menu and actually open each one of these things and see what's there. We've got, the About Us, we got About the Lake, like this will go out to the DNR site. And, there's the stuff that Mike just gave us.
It's no secret. It's easy to find.
293 yeah, but see, we've got it all on our website, or connected from our website. So that can be your route to get there. Okay, so it'd be interesting, here's an ice out date chart that goes through this year. We have fun facts, rules and ordinances. I sent an email to some of you to kind of look. There was some question about how it was laid out. Our ordinances are kind of hard to track, you know.
Because some amend some replace some, and it gets.
Yeah, because the way we've done our ordinances, we've replaced, like ordinance number 1 is replaced by ordinance number 18. So when you click on that, it shows you 18. Ordinance number 2 is replaced by ordinance 14, but when you click on that, it says, please click on 14. There's nothing there for ordinance 3, because that was replaced by something else. You know, so it's just kind of messy. And some of them are not replaced, but they're amended. Like 7 was amended by, I can't remember,
15 or
17
something, I
now.
don't remember, yeah.
So it's, it could use some improvement. So anyway, take a look at wblcd.us and step through and click on everything. Send your comments here.
Yeah.
Any immediate reaction? We can get back to the web company.
I think it looks good.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to get in and check out all the drop-down menus.
Yeah,
Yeah, that will help, because
which
tried to
is,
clean up a lot of them. A lot of them are gone,
Yeah.
fixed, or updated.
yeah.
And I've
the-
been working on making a new brochure. I
Oh.
edited it and got a new map from the city, and I've been trying to put that together so we have
Awesome.
an updated brochure.
Yeah, because they were, when the early version of this, there was, a highlight was the lake brochure, which must have been done 15 years
Yeah, it
ago.
was at least that old.
And we only have it in like one hard copy that somebody scanned in.
Yeah.
So,
I think you did a great job on this. I really like the look of it.
so
Yep,
anyway,
and it's hooked to the web. We also have the Facebook page as well, so if you go to WBLCD on Facebook, it brings that up as well. And we're connected. And then
Yeah.
they'll connect it to the website once that's loaded, so we can do both.
Scott, would there be a way that you could put up like that milfoil map that we have?
I can scan
yeah,
it, I
if
can like send
we-
them this thing that you sent me, Mike, I can send this to
Yeah.
them and they can put that on
yeah,
there.
and we could probably put that on our current website, because this is current.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And
what,
we
you know,
could put
I'm
it
just,
here too.
just asking, not saying you have to do it, but it would be, if anybody asked or called, you could just refer them to
Yeah,
that.
because see, we do have like an invasive species
There you
here.
go, that's
Yeah.
a perfect spot for it.
And there isn't a whole lot there now. Darn it. Oh, there's the scroll.
On the calendar events, I can start putting things that are happening on the lake on there, so people can come and look, when's the Barely Open, or when the next regatta is, or those kind of things. I
You can make it an inset on your Eurasian milfoil up there. I think that-
Yeah. And it could be, since it's brand new, it could be news too.
Yeah.
You know, and I wouldn't have a problem with splashing that.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a good idea to make it more upfront and not make people have to dig for it, at least for a little bit.
Yeah.
Until it becomes old news, and then we can put it down.
Yeah,
What-
well, we gotta know what happened to that news scroll, but I suppose
You put it there, yeah.
treatment,
Yep.
you know, and you know, the day it happens, if it's nice tomorrow.
Yeah, the little thing that goes by.
You can say what the
being treated.
buoys mean?
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you both for all your efforts. I mean, that's really good, and it's
All
difficult
right.
to make progress on that stuff, I think.
Hey,
Have fun
Scott,
with it,
Can I
please.
give you a really easy one, by the way?
Yeah.
I'm reading, it's a good site, everything comes up fast, granted it's not publicly hosted, but on the fun facts about White Bear Lake, I'm no expert, but I think the maximum depth is not 83,000 feet.
Wow, you're no fun.
They're no fun.
It's only 16 miles,
Okay.
so maybe 83 feet.
Put it in an email and
So
we'll,
I don't mix it.
Everyone's
No.
an editor, you know, what
It's a
do you,
very fun fact.
I'll leave it and see if anybody notices.
well, you've
Yeah.
to
heard,
me.
you've heard of fake news?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, upset.
Mariana's Trench times 10.
Yeah, you can get to China from here.
Any other input initially for Scott and Kim on the
Looks good.
website?
I think you did a good job. Congratulations.
All right, so thanks for that. Any other questions for Scott, Lake Education Committee? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Scott. Treasurers report, Diane?
Okey dokey. Treasurer's report for June 2018. Looks like this. I'd like to make a motion to accept checks 4495 through 4501.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to accept those checks. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes.
Also, if you notice, check 4501 was reimbursement to White Bear Township for the swimmer's itch treatment. So that has been utilized once this year so far, in cooperation with the township. Usually we get one from the city too, but we
Yeah,
haven't.
that probably will.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, next item. The budget.
Budget planning.
Next item is the budget. I have two budgets here for you. One was sent to you in your packet, and that one shows a budget where we are deficit spending $1,477. The other budget, which was on your desk tonight, that amount was just added into the revenue. So that would be $1,477 that we would be collecting from the cities. But this budget is now balanced. The revenue for each of, or how much each of the cities would have is not filled in just because we need to get the information from the counties to figure that out once the budget's passed. So I guess I would like to know from the board, do you want to have a balanced budget or deficit spend by 1,500?
What would the total city assessments be for all the cities together?
77,180.
Or just a little bit more than what would have been last year?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
75,700.
Yeah, just a couple
Yeah.
thousand more.
Yeah.
So that's with it,
Yeah, I see, what I got it right.
Balanced.
that's with it balanced.
Yeah,
So it would,
yeah,
We
this
just
one's,
jumped our deficit 10,000 though with our, with the education program that we're signing on, so it's.
So that's our deficit spending for the year.
well, and plus, the cities aren't, the assessments aren't going to be paid this year, so that's another deficit.
Yep.
yeah, but that's, yeah, I mean, this is next year's budget.
Yeah, we're talking
Right,
219.
Yeah, and we have no real need to restore the fund balance for that 10,000 in next year's budget.
Okay.
No. Well, balance
So what's-
sounds good to me.
What's the board's pleasure?
Okay, so the two options, one is to deficit spend and maintain the assessments as they've been for the member communities over the last couple of years. And the second option is to increase those revenue, or those assessments, by about $1,400, it looks like, overall. So, I mean, not much of an increase for any of the
Wouldn't be very
communities.
noticeable.
Right,
And we
right,
did give them all their money back this year.
right.
So I think
Balance it.
that the expectation is that they pay for what we have budgeted.
Okay.
Okay, so we've received a little input on that. Diane, do you want to do anything?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to accept the balanced budget for 2019.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the balanced budget for 2019. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes.
So that, the assessments will get figured out, and this week, and we will be sending, Kim and I will be sending out a letter to each of the cities with the budget and what their assessment will be for 2019 with a cover letter. And then I'll have that sent to all of the board members too, and that needs to be done by July 1st of the year. So as soon as we get that, I'll be sending that letter to all of the members here too, and the cities. So you can see what your city's going to be receiving.
Okay, any questions for Diane? Okay, good.
Thanks.
Thank you, Diane. Next item on the agenda, the board council report. Alan?
Thank you, Chair and Board. As I said earlier, the only real big report is what we've now gotten done with legislatively. So with that out of the way, I've seen a fair amount of activity on the lake, especially in the last month. None of it has gotten into court, though, so everyone's being fairly responsible boaters, or at least the sheriffs aren't issuing actual come-to-court citations, so there's some grumblings about stuff going on over off of Ramsey Beach, of course, because now it's back open again, but nothing that's hit the courthouse, so I would stand for questions.
Any questions for Alan? Okay, thank you, Alan. Consent agenda, Diane?
I'd like to make a motion to accept this consent agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Announcements, Kim, do you have any announcements for us?
Nope, I don't have any more. So just the website was our stuff.
Okay, thank you, Kim. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That passes, so we're adjourned. Thank you all.